guys, and welcome to another lyrical breakdown with me, your lady friend Bonnie. I hope you are doing great. I am doing well. I'm, at the end of like an allergy season, so I feel like I can breathe a little bit more. It's exciting. And so this week I'm just doing a song that I came across, and an artist actually I came across, and I just thought that he sounded really interesting. And the more that I looked into him, the more he kind of he was pretty involved in like the music industry at the time. So this particular song and artist that I will be doing this week for you guys is Jeru The Damaja, Ya Playin Yaself, because nobody wants to be doing that, because then you're just screwing yourself over, right? And this came out September 23rd, 1996, off of the album Wrath of the Math, I believe it was. Yeah, Wrath of the Math. And so, it sounded pretty interesting. Let me know if you guys know much about him, because I hadn't heard anything. I'll be honest. I haven't heard anything about this guy, and like what he's done. And yeah, I was reading about him, and he's from Brooklyn, and he like I said, he seems very like involved in like the culture like at the time, and a lot of other like artists seem to like, I don't know if it's necessarily influenced, but he bounced a lot of ideas off of people, and I think like kind of pissed some people off, and like had interesting things to say. So I think that he's kind of a cool guy, and I would definitely like to check out some of his albums at some point. So maybe at one point you'll see us doing him on Classic Quest. So let's just get into it. I'm not an expert or anything, just letting everybody know that right away. And I'm not going to be playing the full song. I'm just going to be playing a little clip right and now.
Yeast infection and sisters with good minds get no respect when that's all.
Okay, so in verse 1, and also I just want to say like the beat's really cool, and like the background, it's very like 90s, but it sounds really cool. I like it a lot. So verse 1, now I don't push Alex, others had to turn to flex, Jeru is up next, all these so-called players up in the rap game got brothers on the corner selling cooked cocaine. It used to be Latoya and Jim hats, but now it's Uzis, Max, and G packs of cracks. But everybody's psycho or some type of good fellow, but me, I keep it real, that's all swine like Jello. I don't drink Crystal, and I can't stand Mo. So he's basically saying like, hey, like I don't drive like a fancy car or have to like show off like big muscles or anything like that, unlike other people who have to like show off like that and kind of use other things to kind of get like their foot in the door, essentially, I guess. And Jeru he just does it like in his way, in an honest way. And he's performing next, and he's seeing all these guys that are there, and they all these other rappers have some sort of like involvement one way or another, necessarily, with drugs or criminal activity. And that's kind of what it was like, I think, like in like the early 90s in New York. I think it was also pretty like a gritty kind of city. I know it's not just like the version that we see on Friends. Like obviously there was like some darker areas, and I know that like, New York was obviously very cleaned up. Anyways, besides that, so he's just kind of like seeing that all these people are talking about being in gangs and being criminals and like doing all this illegal stuff and selling drugs, and he's just kind of like, that's like so weird. Like, he's just gonna like keep it real, and like he's gonna stay away from all of that stuff, and he doesn't really like expensive stuff, which he says basically in the last line. Don't drink Crystal, and I can't stand Mo. Those are both like, I believe, champagnes, Cristal and Moet, I'm assuming he's referring to, or Moet, I guess is how it's actually supposed to be said. And I kind of agree with him, because I find often expensive food or drinks and things like that as like trendy or like fancy or whatever the hell, and you're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, I'm eating the most like fancy food at blah blah blah. Honestly, most of the time I'm just like, it's okay. It's not worth, if it was worth like, the amount, and I had to get it. I don't know. I'm not explaining that properly. I just don't always agree that expensive foods and drinks necessarily need to be that, and they're not always as good as the cheaper version or just cheap food in general. That's just me. I guess it's probably just more chemicals. But so that's pretty much it. That's what he's talking about there. So he says, as I go on, Never received currency for moving a kilo or an ounce, make 'em bounce to this fake pimp free flow. I never knew hustlers confessed in stereo or on video get caught. You'll know who's turned states, evidence, murder, weapon, confession, and fingerprints. Mama always said, watch what comes out of your mouth. Tight case for the DA from here to down south. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding like King Solomon's wealth. You're a player, but only because you're playing yourself. So he's basically saying he's never sold drugs. He's only made, music that made people move and like feel energetic, and and like that's what he does. Like that's kind of like the drug, I guess, that he's selling is music, which I think is kind of interesting. All of these kind of rappers are talking about like all the shit that they did and like doing stupid things in their music videos and stuff like that. And he's like, why are you confessing in your songs? Why are you showing all these crimes and stuff that you're doing in your songs? Because that's only just going to get you arrested. Like, it makes you sound badass and cool, I guess, but in reality, like if you're actually saying like, oh, I did this, I killed this guy, da 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 da, like, and you're basically admitting to all these crimes that you're doing, I assume at some point you may get arrested, or at least have some cops like showing up at your door, which nobody wants. So yeah, maybe don't brag about illegal things that you're up to, is all I'm saying. He says like, my mom taught me like, be careful who you talk to and be careful what you're saying and who you're saying it to, essentially. And so that's kind of like the message that he's trying to like pass to everybody else. But he's seeing that like these, idiot rappers, I guess, around him are not doing that. And, he's kind of like, don't do that. And he knows more than these criminal rappers. Like, he knows what's going on. He knows like real life, and I think he's pretty smart, and he knows that because I was just talking about the Bible. There's the he's a an educated man. I'm guessing maybe he's a God-fearing man, and so he believes that, and he is obviously quoting the Bible, so he knows, I guess, right from wrong, essentially, and that you shouldn't be doing all these like criminal things. And then he points out, like, listen, it may sound cool, but in the end, like, you're going to end up going to jail, basically, and you're only screwing yourself over. And you may look cool, and you may look like badass and whatever, but just wait. You'll see what happens. Like, that's just kind of it. It's just sort of like a warning. And then we have the hook with all that big willy talk. Hop, you're playing yourself with all that big gun talk. Bop, you're playing yourself with all that rah, rah, rah. You're playing yourself with all that... you're playing yourself with all that rah rah rah. You're playing yourself with all that big gun talk. Bop, you're playing yourself with all that big willy talk. Hop, you're playing yourself. So basically saying like, you're talking like you're a big shot, you're talking like you've got a big cock, you're talking like you've got a big gun, but in the end, what's it to anybody? Like, you're only just hurting yourself, and you're screwing yourself over, and like talking the way that you're talking isn't going to like get you anywhere good, and it's all just bullshit, is basically what he's saying. My own opinion. And that you're just going to ruin your own life, and he's just gonna sit back and be like, well, told you so, kind of. So let's move on to verse 2. Now these ladies is looking pretty from city to city. I refined a few I met around the country. The nitty gritty, it's all reality, no question, actual fact, like tight jeans cause yeast infection. And sisters with good minds, you get no respect when the ass is all hanging out, playing the bar section of the club, shaking what your mama gave you back to the lab. So he's basically saying, like, all of these ladies, or all ladies are beautiful, essentially, and especially, like, he's on tour, he's enjoying, seeing different women from different places, and he's saying, only like the few blessed chosen women were, good enough for him to sleep with him. Or good enough for them to sleep with him. Yeah. So like that's kind of something, I think he's kind of talking highly, and he like picks and chooses. He doesn't just like sleep with everybody, which is interesting. It's not necessarily something that you often hear about. Usually it's like, yeah, get all these ladies, whatever. But I guess not him. He, selects them and, makes sure that they're good ladies. And that's pretty much like the details to his adventures. And these are facts. Like, he yeah, and these are like actual facts, like how you can get a yeast infection from wearing tight jeans, because it traps the moisture in there and creates yeast. I guess, I don't know. You can make some bread. I have no idea how it actually works. I know it's something about moisture. I'm sure everybody loves hearing about vagina issues, but something, I don't know, yeast infections. That's it. So don't wear tight jeans too much, or wet bathing suits. And don't like sit in wet bathing suits. Apparently, you can get yeast infections from that. That's what my mama always told me. There's some info for you. You can imagine my mom having yeast infections. Great. So anyways, and if you're, basically saying like, you can be smart, you can be great, and whatever. But if you're looking all slutty and stuff, like, people are not going to take you seriously. People aren't going to assume that you're a smart woman. If that's, the kind of outfit you choose to wear, and then she's basically kind of like flirting and trying to like get the attention of guys with her body, and so she's, which is, maybe in the 90s it was like a shameful thing to do for women to do that kind of stuff, but nowadays I feel like it's more acceptable, and a woman can be smart and she can use her body to get what she wants in life. So it can be something that is useful. I'm not gonna like shame her for that. So you do you, girl. But like, I get like what he's saying, that maybe it's not the right way to do things, and it's maybe if you are a smart person, you don't necessarily need to be doing those things like to get men's attention. Like, you can just be a smart woman and do it better. And yeah. Anyways, but either way, it's he just wants these women, I guess, or whatever, to be smarter and make better decisions. So then he goes on saying, I dropped the truth because rhyming is more than just my craft or a way to get ass or fast cash or blasted. Black women, make sure you're respected. While Blanks is kicking that old off the wall shit, let them know from jump, dead it, you're not ignorant. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding is the key to wealth. Put some clothes on that ass if you respect yourself. So it's pretty hard hitting. Like, he's very like direct in like what he's saying, and he's definitely saying the truth. And he's basically saying that his rhyming skills are more than just one thing. They're a part of him, and they're in everything that he believes in and everything that he's basically saying, and he feels like he's a real true artist. I mean, that's kind of like my perception of like what he is. And he gives black women some excellent advice, in this kind of section here. Make sure that, if any guy, tries anything with you, let them know that you're not going to put up with that crap, and that, you'll just walk away because you're better than that, and you are a strong woman, and you don't need to like deal with anybody's shit. So you can just walk the hell out of there and figure out your life without this shitty guy, like, that's it. And I think that's a pretty like good way to live, and a good message for women, which isn't always, again, something that's talked about in rap songs. You don't know, always like, oh, that was a lovely message for that women, or for the women, blah blah blah. Like, I think it's usually like, Ice Cube, bitches and hoes or whatever, which is fine. I mean, that's his thing that he does too, and that's a whole different side of things. But whatever. I mean, it all works, I guess. So besides that, I think he's just saying that, and he just wants to make sure that like women get that message, and that knowledge is money. So earn your respect, by making money and being smart and covering up your clothes a little bit and basically dressing like a good little Christian girl, and or maybe a boss ass bitch or something like that. Just something that's going to get you like a good paying job. If you're smart and if you're educated, you can make some really like strong moves, and you don't necessarily have to show your boobs doing it. Although I disagree on sometimes, because sometimes it's fun to show your boobs a little bit. But we each gotta do our own thing. So I'm definitely not showing any boobs today though. So yeah. So then we have a different hook again. It's the same sort of format, and just with different words. with those hooker type wears, hun, you're playing yourself. With those skin tight jeans, baby, you're playing yourself. Everything all exposed, you're playing yourself. You're playing yourself, you're playing yourself. And then he just does it kind of like the other way around again. So basically he's saying your outfit makes you look like a prostitute. You know, because she has on like tight jeans and I guess like parts of her bodies are exposed. I mean, it seems a little bit judgy coming from like a woman's perspective, but and I feel like most women probably would agree with me, but you know that it shouldn't be anybody else should say about anybody else's business and what they wear and what they do. But I get it. He obviously has some concerns for this woman or women, whatever. So, I mean, it's a good message. So then we have verse 3. Now, I don't trust a tech, bubble drugs in the project, or use mics to sell sex. Blanks nowadays is all about this. So much yin yang, it's ridiculous. And if you got so much cheese, where are the black distributors? And these record companies shake them down like mobsters, but imposters. Look, commercial locks are not rastas. Always fake moves, never making moves. Asses shake, bottles pop, the government is breaking down, you fools. You work all week and give the devil back his loot for jewels. So, I mean, there's kind of a lot to say there. He's basically saying, like, now he doesn't shoot drugs or put, I think, when he's talking, doesn't shoot guns or put drugs in balloons, I think is what he's talking about. Like, and I always think of, like, when you put drugs in a balloon, you're going to put it in your butt. But I'm not sure if that's just, like, movies or not. Yeah. He never uses his talent to attract girls or to pimp girls for sex or whatever. It seems like, you know, two things here a little bit. And basically, like, he's just saying, like, all of this nonsense is just, like, what it is. It's nonsense that people are talking, and it isn't necessarily what's happening. It's not reality. It's all just crap. It's lies. If you're really making, and then he says, you know, if you're really making as much money as you say you are, then there must be some like black distributors because, you know, I guess it's usually like white guys who are making money off of the black guys, like especially like in the 90s. And I guess, of course, still today. But I'm just like talking about like in the music industry, it seemed like the white guys were just like we can make money off of black people. And so that's kind of what they did. And I guess are still doing. So he's kind of saying like, well, it must be the black like distributor because, you know, like you should be helping out like, I guess your own kind. And the record companies, I believe, take a lot of money from the artists. And I think that kind of sucks. And basically, I think he's also talking about that people are fake in the music industry and, just because you look the part doesn't necessarily make you the part. Like, you can look like a rapper, you can look like a gangsta, you can look like, you know, whatever else. But if you can't sing and you can't rap and you can't write and you can't produce, you can't mix, you can't, you know, MC, like anything, like, then you're not going to be in that industry. That's pretty much it. Although I'm sure there have been some that have gotten in, unfortunately. Yeah. And then he basically says that, you know, you're going to lose a bunch of money that you're working for, right off the bat. And then, you know, when you get your actual paycheck, you are just going to spend it on nonsense, on the weekends. You're going to be partying, you're going to be buying drugs, you're going to be buying, you know, chains and bling bling and whatever else. And it's just sort of like the cycle of like working hard. You know, I think that there are a lot of people that do that. You know, they work hard, they, you know, kind of hoard their money during the week, and then on the weekends they like party and they go hard and they'll spend their money on whatever else. So I think that that's kind of an interesting phenomenon, I guess, you know, because it is something that happens over and over and over again, and everybody kind of falls into that trap. And I think it's just the way society is set up, I guess. Just my opinion. Let's keep going. And the steak on your plate is filled with chemicals. Still, brothers, leave brothers all battered and bruised. On the streets, won't see snakes on my feet. The race is on, but I won't compete in this competition because I have a greater mission. I hope that you listen. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding brings long life and health. Think anything else, and you're playing yourself. So basically, there are lots of chemicals in meat, and I feel like we've heard this message before, especially like at this time, and not necessarily, but I mean, it has sort of been like a majority from New York. I mean, not that there hasn't been some, from other places, but New York seems to be the place where a lot of rappers are talking about. But not everywhere. I'm really saying not everywhere. But it just seemed like at the time, the Nation of Islam was like kind of blowing up a bit, and they were really staying away from a lot of meat and steaks and things like that. And like there were a lot of people were changing their diets. Or had already changed their diets, and he's just kind of criticizing the food industry, I guess, and that the way that animals are created, and cows are herded in and pumped with like chemicals and things like that, and like that ends up on your plate, and you are eating those chemicals. So that's kind of what he's saying, like just be like cautious and weary of like what's going on and where your food comes from and how it's created and what you're putting into your mouth. So yeah. Again, so like I said, a lot of rappers were talking about this, and I think still do continue to rap about this. It's not something that just goes away. So since the result of hood crimes, there's just seems to be a lot of like black on black crimes, and he talks about particularly beatings and things like that. And obviously like that's just because of where everybody was forced to go, and like the way slums are built and things like that. It's just like really shitty. So people want to battle him, but he won't, because he's not about that. Like that's not like his mission. That's not his goal. He's not trying to be like the best battle rapper. He's just trying to teach people. He's trying to get a good message to people, and he just wants people to learn and be better, which I think is always great. And that's pretty much what it is. He kind of says like, his mission is to educate listeners and to make them better, healthier, because if you're not doing all these things, then you're just screwing yourself over. You're playing yourself. Like, if you're not taking your own life and health seriously, and taking the time to learn and doing like all like the better things that you should be doing in life, then you're only going to hurt yourself in the long run. And I think that's really true. For everything. And then we have the hook again. So all that big willy talk, hop, you playing yourself with all those skin tight jeans, hun, you're playing yourself with all that rah, 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 you're playing yourself, you're playing yourself, you're playing yourself. With all the hooker type, where is it, baby, you're playing yourself with all that big gun talk, money, you're playing yourself, everything all exposed, you're playing yourself, you're playing yourself, you're playing yourself. And you don't want to be doing that. And that's pretty much it for the entire song. I mean, it's not, super substantial, but there are some good messages in there. And the whole music video was inspired by like a kung fu movie, which is very, again, like New York, it seems, at the time. And so like the whole music video is just a sort of like a remake of like a kung fu movie, and it's just kind of goofy and whatever. And that's what the picture at the beginning was, me trying to do like a kung fu move. I was like looking up how to do them. So so that's pretty much it. I hope you guys like this one. Let me know if you guys know Jeru the Damaja, because I don't really know anything. I don't even know if he's like still making music, if he's still doing whatever, if he's still telling his truth and trying to like educate the world. So maybe he's doing that kind of thing. So that's pretty much it. So I would like to say thank you so much for watching, period. And thanks especially to our patrons over on Patreon. If you guys want to support us in any way, all the information will be linked down below. So especially thanks to Lindell Williams, DJ Black Hurricane, Chris Prado, Ismail Gadamsi, and Jonathan Barnes. Thank you guys. And for everybody else, you can find me, and you guys as well. For everybody, you can find me on Twitter at YLF Bonnie, or on Instagram at Your Lady Friend Bonnie. I'm over there posting and having a good time. And we also have a Discord. There's more information about that down below. And if you want to see any songs being broken down, please write those in the comments down below as well. And I will check those out and get to them at some point in my life. So that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for sticking around, and I will see you next time. Bye!